Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our live on LinkedIn and YouTube for From Pilots to Production, How Engineering Roles, Skills, and Teams Must Evolve in 2026. I'm the host, Ryan Mann, and I work for Lean Solutions Group as a marketing director. If you are joining us live today, please let us know where you're joining from in the comments. I am joined today by Ignacio Moreno Crespin. Ignacio is a senior AI solutions architect at Lean Solutions Group, and he leads AI implementations inside mission critical workflows, pairing automation with embedded teams to create reliable human in the loop systems. He focuses on measurable ROI, operational fit, and scalable governance. Ignacio, thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. So, Ignacio, we've talked at length. Everybody has heard ad nauseum. AI is, taking over. Everybody's trying to figure out how to make this work.
Yeah.
And today we want to really look at, what this means for software engineering teams. Here at Lean Solutions Group, we build high performance software engineering teams, but really we help companies stretch what's possible with AI automation, with embedded expertise and tech-enabled talent. And Ignacio, you've been helping a lot of our customers throughout 2025 gain their footing inside some pretty complex operating environments and supply chain. So today, what we're looking to do is sort of get some first principles for how teams can really structure in this new world, how they can operate in this new world, how they can go from siloed experiments to fully operational workflows across the entire product lifecycle and development lifecycle. So, Ignacio, with that, what is the first signal that an AI project or implementation is going to stall or fail?
Well, it's a great question, right? A lot of context where to get findings and lessons learned. But I think that there are early symptoms that are very evident along the different AI implementations that we can see out there. We in LSG have learned that AI journey is not a project scope mindset. So it's not something that you really need to manage in the terms of the limits of a project scope of work, hours involved, and then kind of our results, right? The mindset that we learn to have is an operational mindset because AI means nothing if we are not able to really deploy it in a real life environment, right? So with that, we have learned that when you see that an implementation is taking too long, trying to solve risks that they didn't scope before, now they're struggling how to do the handover with a team that's going to receive this solution, is going to use it in a daily basis, right? Then you realize that maybe the solution is brilliant, but there is some kind of pushback from the end users because the change hasn't been managed properly. So you can see all the symptoms, right? And then you say, okay, this is like project standpoint, it's not operational standpoint. And that's where you see most of our clients struggling with some of their endeavors in AI. And that's why we are usually requested to join and to start intervening their processes, their long-term relationships, their team arrangement, right? And how to deal not only with the technology, but also with the deployment of all this in a real life scenario.
Yeah, so really it's a shift. A project charter in a traditional sense isn't going to lead to success here when you're talking about AI implementation, and particularly in software organizations where I think it's really complex. So how would you prescribe a North Star? How would you help a company or a team find their North Star to shift from a project-based mindset to an operational-based mindset?
Great question. I think that the reason why, so it's having really in mind what the purpose of our team is, right? So this means that we need to encourage our team a new culture, a new paradigm shifting about what is our mission right now. Usually, technology companies are based on scope of work, projects, and tasks, right? Right now, the teams working in AI need to have a mission. And this mission is about changing the way their clients right work right now. So those operations need to be up and running with a lot of behavior side. I mean, it should be accountable, it should be traceable, it should be something that needs to be held by humans as well. So all this needs to be in the mindset of our engineers. So right now, it's not a project itself, it's a mission to make this work. And at the end, getting the ROI expected, right? Because it is not only about like having a fancy technology in place, it is about like changing the way how they work and having the benefits of the AI, which are tremendous, can be like really relevant, right? But also will define a new setup of the teams. So this, what I'm trying to say here is like most of our clients, when we face an AI project, we have the intention, right? Why we're doing this. Then we have the mission. Okay, we're going to do this, but we need to change the organization. The team needs to be upskilled, reskilled, right? Then we need to deploy a solution. We should be able to have flexibility to pivot because we need to face risks involved into those deployments. And after that, which is more relevant, we need to be able to measure how this operation is looking right now. People and robots working together. Who is going to say that it's working okay? The service levels, right? We need to take care of them. So, with all this, a new mindset and a new culture along the teams needs to be set. This is why I love working in LC, right? So, we come from operations. We are now able to link directly from a technology dream to a real ROI that we feel we can deliver and we can measure. What are the results coming from those rollouts?
Yeah, and I think something else that you've said in the past is sort of like going back to like a product mindset as well, like asking the question, what problem are we trying to solve?
Absolutely. It's a core principle, right? We want to solve the right problem. The worst thing we can have is solving the wrong problem of our client. So, for that, we should be able to really deep dive in how this client is living their daily operations, right? Who are the players in that game? Internal stakeholders, but also clients and external stakeholders. So, we need to deal with all that to make AI really fit in something that adds value and not decrease the value.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered really like we need to find an operational North Star. And a good way to do that is probably ask a question, what problem are we trying to solve? Let's build some culture within the team around this. But, for leaders who are managing an engineering team, like, they have employees who are trying to figure this out, but also who are already using it and it's generating a ton of tech debt. It's creating backlogs and bug fixes. And of course, they have to rework a lot of this code. We have customers who are deploying AI code assistants within their workflows and scrapping like 78% of what's produced by AI. And so at the individual level, because it always has to go downstream eventually, how can leaders define AI fluent? Specifically for senior engineers, we're seeing a lot of senior engineers kind of taking on the brunt of this mandate to use AI and then to make it work. So for senior engineer, what does AI fluent really mean?
No. AI fluency, we see how engineers embrace that concept, right? Once they commit with their missions, right? So we love how our engineers have evolved from that past paradigm to say, hey, you need to like develop this functionality. Not anymore. So right now we are customer centric, right? All engineering needs to be focusing what is the strategy of that client. So we need to support it widely. We need to understand the problem we want to solve, right? So make sure that we're going to solve the right problem. And of course, we're going to get the right ROI. So whatever you do as a senior engineer needs to fit that, needs to embrace that, and needs to also support that statement. What we see, and this is a behavioral change, right? We are experiencing new engineers understanding that they have a lot of capabilities, a lot of tools. They have a lot of AI, which is evolving in a like really fast, right, on a daily basis. So they can use all this context in order to make things happen. Right now, we are able to pivot whenever it's needed, right? We're allowed to incorporate enhancements because they are like justified because of the final goal we have expected, which is a business goal. All this conscious engineers is being relevant right now in order to, once we have a mission, they need to accomplish it. And moreover, right, we see how these engineers can deal in the middle of the journey of like implementing, designing, and also rolling out, how they can pivot really easily. We decrease these moments of misery that is very usual in common IT terms, how to deal with clients, right? We decrease these misery moments. We don't want misery moments with the clients. So we don't want to say, hey, we are not covering this, which is critical for the final goal because it's not the scope of work. It should be done because it's part of the strategy that you're expecting. And that's why we are having a new mindset with your client, right? You're expecting a long-term relationship. The design, the building, and the deployment of the AI is covered by us as our past partners. We have our engineers committed to that mission. And moreover, we can sustain this in an operational level in a long-term relationship. All this is a huge mindset. All this is something is being installed in our teams, and we've
Yeah.
been testing out on a daily basis.
So for you, AI fluency within a senior engineering role sort of looks like, are you able to, it's a lot of context and on framing, like what is the actual problem, making sure that you can really identify what the problem you're trying to solve is, the context around that, meaning business context. So we're doing something, we're building a product for a business outcome. The senior engineer needs to understand that, but then be able to leverage the tools to do things faster and more efficient as
Right.
timelines are compressed, right?
And,
Because
and
these
just
tools, that's what the expectation is.
and just to add some color on that, you see, we see, and it's very often, right? We have this mission, and we understand that the client, they have their chaos, right? They have a lot of spreadsheets around, they have a lot of like reprocessing. And sometimes we realize that for really like landing this in a good way, we need to deal with those variables, right? So for instance, we have been able to, whenever it's spreadsheets, I declare my team as spreadsheet killers. We definitely move those spreadsheets to, we use the tool Agent Edge, right? So basically all the data should flow in environments, technical environments that we can control the data. And that is something that is assumed like a must, right? In our projects in order to domesticate data so we can have a promise on the results. All this kind of add-ons and changes and on the fly added value, it is included in our journeys right now in order to accomplish the mission. So, and all this is part of the flexibility that our teams need to get and are currently embracing actually.
When we're looking for AI fluent skills, we're looking for developers that really can understand context, that can problem solve, that are flexible, agile, can pivot when needed. How can we test for those skills? How can we test for that mindset? And if you already have a team that you're working to sort of upskill or reskill, how can you develop that team around this fluency?
Okay, so from the development side, right, we have the mindset of, okay, if you are effective, it is because the result is there. So our engineer needs to solve the problem, needs to understand the problem, solve it, and with all the pitfalls that they can find. So that's the way how we encourage our teams to accomplish the missions. And finally, the client needs to be deployed, needs to have been using the technology, but also getting the value that was expecting from such solution. So that's how we install our culture in order to cover the end-to-end process with the client. Also, moreover, it's needed that whenever an AI deployment is ongoing, we make sure that we are all aware about who is our operational team. So we really take care that our team, which in other standards are called the users, but we call them the operational team. This team is becoming our collaborators somehow, right? They become our supporters. They become people that they have an SOP, I mean, the way how to do things today, and then they move to a new way to do things after the deployment. So all the team needs to be aware of who the players are, what are their role into the AI adoption, how their roles could evolve or change. So we need to upskill and reskill them. And finally, they're going to be the testers and the team who's going to embrace the new technology and to make it work with all the results we are expecting. So all this is the way how we manage, right, the end-to-end process, and all our teams from the dev side and also from the operational side are aware of this and committed to these results. I don't know if that responds to the question or you're expecting another angle of that.
No, I think it's helpful. So AI fluency has to translate across the organization. We've got to test for it. We have to be able to identify, talent that can problem solve and understand business context. So moving back upstream to the broader team level. So what does AI enablement really look like inside of a software engineering team? And how could that be effectively governed and managed? And I'd really like you to dive in and maybe give us like a real concrete example from all the implementations you've been doing over the last year on governance and management.
Yeah. Okay. So in real life, this looks similar to this, right? So we have a client, we have stakeholders saying, hey, we have business problems, right? So what we basically understand is why that matters, what's the impact they are having, and why it's important to solve it. That way we get an expectation from stakeholders, right? So once we have that, and that's commonly what I can mention, like in 90% of our implementations, they start this way, right? The next thing is like we need to take out perception from facts. So we go to the facts. That's why we always did dive into an assessment, which is a shadowing session. And we make sure that our team understands deeply how things work today. And we understand the complexity of the clients deeply. So deep diving into how they struggle with emails out there. I can say that 80% of our clients, especially in logistics and transportation, use email inboxes to receive transactions. This is non-structured data. So we understand that there is a lot of people opening emails trying to extract data and organize it somewhere to accomplish service levels from other side, which is really challenging. The next step is after understanding that, which comes very often with spreadsheets. Most of our clients will feel like represented by the sample that, yeah, I have this area and there is like this magic spreadsheet which has all the information that we deal in a daily basis. So we detect all that. And after it, what we do is to organize, okay, what is this process and where are the bottlenecks and the constraints? So this is like theory of constraints driven. So we understand where the bottlenecks are. And once we have that, our next question is, what can we do for this client? How can we apply automation or maybe some technology, maybe AI, in order to solve those constraints? That is how we take the problem and we see also the gaps, right? Normally they say the problem is this size, but we can realize that we have 20% of the problems were causing 80% of the impact. And there are maybe two or three problems. So the first one depends that we resolve the second one. So we pull all this together and then we present the solutions. This is how your AI roadmap looks like. This happens 80% of our clients, at least, that we get really into this engagement stage with us, maybe more, 90%. And once we have this roadmap, there is also an economic justification. We have direct costs, we have indirect costs, we have all these savings. We have found that there's a ton of money. It is also how you can increase service levels so you can make your client more competitive. So we evaluate all this, we put all this data together, and then there's an ROI and economic justification. In that moment, that is lights out like no return point. Most of our clients, they get engaged and say, hey, let's do this, right? And with the benefit of all the ROI that we're going to get, of course, we're going to design the budget to put all the efforts in order to reach the goal. It's not project based. It is about like hitting the goal in order to get the ROI. Know how it goes now? So then the magic starts to happen. So you'll see how we start building these AI calls, AI workflows, opening emails, and then moving that not to the spreadsheet, but to Agent Edge, right? And after that, you will see that the client says, oh, now we're having a lot of robots working with people. So how can I manage that? How can I be accountable for this? So that is where we put our tools together. We call it Agent Edge. Every single transaction coming from emails, workflows, AI calls in the same repository. So we give this new role, which didn't exist before. It's going to be the expert in the loop, how to deviate exceptions, how to interact with robots. When the robot is okay, let it go. But when the robot is having issues, the human can jump and solve it. And we found that a lot of situations, our clients that they say, hey, I was really wasting a lot of time. I let the robot hold with that or deal with that. And then I have my brilliant team, right, working in what is relevant and taking it to the next level. So yeah, it's a combination of all that.
Yeah, so really it sounds like the translation here from lived experience deploying AI inside complex environments is one, if you're going to do AI enablement within any team, software engineering, supply chain, operators, whatever, you need one to do some discovery, some internal discovery, right? What problems are there? What are the gaps? And then let's using the Pareto principle, let's use like 20% of the problem or 20% of the issue causing 80% of the problems. Let's start there with our priority. Let's solve our, those sort of challenges first, and then got to have a strategy and a roadmap, right? It doesn't happen overnight. It's not a mandate saying, "Hey, use AI tools. We're going to make your life so much better." This has to be like an organization-wide collaboration to be outcome oriented and to be have a return on investment sort of mindset within any team. If you could give us one reason why an AI strategy fails, whatever workflow you're looking at, whether it's software development, whether it's track and trace and logistics, what's the number one reason you think AI strategies fail?
I think that most of our clients, we have a lot coming saying, hey, I had this first round of testing AI and we didn't have good results. What happened there? So once we dig into that, we see that there is an illusion, right? Trying to have cookie cutter solutions. There is a lot of testing. There's a lot of companies testing if they fit in those like standard rigid solutions out there. And on most of our experiences, right, even though that we have a set of products for specific cases of use, we always leave a space to really make it fit into the organization. Interaction and connection, integration with legacy systems. There's always fine tuning in voice AI, for instance. There's always fine tuning in the accents sometimes, in the way how we script the dialogues in AI. Some vendors out there are not leaving that space to clients. And if they are doing, maybe it's not in a friendly manner that they can pivot easily in order to get a fine tuned solution. So we have a lot of frustration in that side, which is easy setup. And then they realize it's a lot of things to do after that. The second thing is once you have a nice solution, the second risk, which is how can I manage that? So can it be accountable that the AI is working as expected? How can it like incorporate quality assurance? So they see that there's a lot of initiatives and from different departments, and then there is no governance on top of the framework, right? And the third topic is about not managing the change. Maybe the solution is brilliant, but there was no space for humans there. Like people that were thinking that, okay, this is going to replace humans. We are really clear that this is a collaboration to get superhumans in our teams. So our team's going to be definitely empowered. Right? They're going to want to do more with the same capacity. I mean, they're going to have superpowers, super tools in order to have better collaboration. So all these are like top three risks that our clients are facing. And that's the way normally they come to us and try to relaunch their strategy.
Love it. So, Ignacio, we're getting close to our time here. I just want to recap because I think there's some first principles that you've sort of dropped in throughout this conversation. I want to make sure that I'm understanding so that everybody can understand. Uh, Whether you're in supply chain, whether you're in software, whether you're in retail, whatever industry you're in, everybody should be looking at these principles and saying, okay, yeah, this is a way that we can approach building an AI strategy for our own business, for our own teams that actually moves the needle. One, map out the process in a deep way. Two, document, document everything. Documentation, discipline has to be there in order to map out that process, but also to document what your problems are, what you're solving for, what your goals are. Start with clear wins, right? We want to solve, pick the thing that's 20% of the issue, but 80% of the problem. Communication from leaders to employees, from departments, looking across the organization in a cross functional way, and then always asking, does it work? because this isn't theory. We need to deploy this inside real workflows. So is this working? And then continuously improve from there. Does
Absolutely.
that resonate with you?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you see that's kind of a framework, right? It's an operational framework to really make AI happen in real life. It also deals with some very special topic. It's a people thing, right? It's how people will use AI after its deployment and how beneficial it's going to be for the entire team. That now we have this like super robots working with us, right? Making things happen, getting more transparency, getting more accountability. And of course, like increasing the service level for clients. So we need to deal with that as well. It's not about the technology. And I want to mention that after all these experiences, all this framework can be like transposed to any industry, even though that we are really strong in logistics and transportation. This works. I mean, oil and gas, like manufacturing, retail, no matter the industry, that's something that we are confident it could work. That's why we are really excited whenever a new industry comes to our like base of clients. And that is it's a key factor we need to look at. People should be excited that the new technology is being placed.
Okay, Ignacio, if you could leave technology leaders or team leads with one thought from today, what would it be?
It would be like we should release previous paradigms. We don't want superstars trying to build a feature. Features are in the past. Rigid projects are in the past. Short-term relationships are in the past. What the new paradigm for AI, for dealing with AI, right now, there are no kings of technology. In the past, if you were certified in whatever technology, you have all this domain covered. Not anymore. It's about how we can use the technology, how can we make it work in real business, how we can get ROI from there. And that is the mission, right? No more like rigid paradigms on that. It's a mission of business and partnering with our clients in their solutions. That's what I would say, and that's like embrace a lot of concepts and a lot of context as well.
Ignacio, thank you so much for your time today. Feel free, connect with Ignacio. I'm sure if you have any questions or any sort of follow-up comments, or want to pick his brain, he'd be happy to help through his LinkedIn messages. If you want to learn more about Lean Solutions Group and what we're doing to stretch what's possible for supply chain, for technology, for all these industries using AI, embedded expertise, and tech-enabled talent, please visit our website at www.leangroup.com. Ignacio, again, thank you so much, and thank you for everybody who tuned in today. We look
Thanks,
forward to
Ryan.
seeing you on the next one.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for the audience. Really enjoyed this session with you guys. Have a good one.